everyone. We will begin our session for today. Today we are going to talk about chapter 22. We all want to get blessed, right? But what is the way to get blessing? This will tell us exactly how to get blessing. And since we are all cultivators, in this chapter, Lao Tzu talk about how to cultivate in very simple way. So if we can follow all this, we are on the righteous path of Tao cultivation. In other words, you are on the right path to become a Buddha. Right now, you are future Buddha. Right now, you are in the Buddha camp, and we are going towards to that way. Lao Tzu, in this chapter, he tells very specifically and in a very simple way how to cultivate. This is the content for chapter 22. I break it down into different groups as always. So in the first 6 are laid out in the very short phrase, something easy to remember. And this is exactly what Lao Tzu wants to show us, how to cultivate Tao, how to refine ourselves in our life, or how to be blessed. And the next category is number 4, which is the common syndrome that we have. We may experience this. We might become arrogant at some time. And we see people who are arrogant. And Lao Tzu tells us specifically what are the current syndrome that we all face. So this 4 lines explain about arrogance and how to avoid that. The next one is the summary. So basically, this is the structure for chapter 22. Now let's start from the first one, yield and behold. We all seen this picture on the road. We all drive, right? So what happens when you see this picture or when you see this sign on the street? You will want to yield. And this is very important if you want to pass the driving test. We all know how to do it. But sometimes in our life, when the situation comes, we forgot to yield. So to yield is to maybe hold on a little bit, maybe wait a few seconds to allow people to cut in front of you. Maybe you take a detour. And this is very important in our life. It's part of cultivation. Say you have a bachelor degree or a master degree, you think you deserve $80,000 a year. But because of your inexperience, because of the knowledge that you are still trying to obtain, you have to get a lower paying job. So this is an example of yielding. But you do it voluntary because you are in the field to get some experience. So if we can yield, if we can bow down, and if we can take the detour road, eventually we will reach to our destination. This applies to business. Have you ever seen any successful business who never yield? A successful business, they must have gone through a lot of hardship. They must yield a lot. Say if you're a salesperson and you say, I'm going to sell this item for, say, $1,000. And the customer proposed, what about $950? Are you willing to take that offer? Probably you have to say yes in order to win a customer, just a little bit of a discount to them. So it's like a way to yield to the customer. But if you choose not to yield and the customer don't want to yield, then you lose that transaction. This is very true in car sales negotiation. When you buy a house, especially real estate agent knows this verse, yield and behold, it's very, very important in our life, not just in Tao cultivation. Yield and behold in Chinese is 曲则全. And this applies to friendship too. If you call your friend up, hey, can we have lunch at 12? Your friend say, what about 1 o'clock? Are you going to say, you have to be there at 12 o'clock? But your friend say, no, I can only be there at 1. Are you willing to settle down for 1 or you have to be at 12? If you say the time have to be at 12, then there's no luncheon. So this is a way of reminding us we have to be flexible, be adaptable. And also in family relationship, spousal relationship, we are constantly yielding all the time. So if you cannot yield, if you are not flexible, if you are not adaptable, the family is going to break apart. The spousal relationship will go to the divorce route, the business is going to fail. So the word yielding, it implies being slender. So a lot of time in our life, we have to experience all this. And of course, these are negative experience. But think about it. All the saints and sages in the past that you know, who has not gone through this stage? The number one saint I can think of is Jesus. He was humiliated. He was crucified on the cross. Confucius, he was humiliated. And Lao Tzu, although he was not being crucified, but everybody looked down on him. Nobody wanted to listen to him. It's an experience that we all have to experience if you want to take the spiritual path. I'm a vegetarian, and I'm constantly being teasing. Vegetarian food does not provide you healthy choice. You need to keep your body bone and strong. You have to have enough protein. So sometimes I'm still being teased by my family initially, but now they don't say anything because it's already a journey of, I think, more than 20 years. So they kind of get used to it. To be whole, it means to reach perfection, to reach the state of Buddhahood, to reach to the state of sagehood. And in order to reach perfection, can you not be yield? Can you not be adaptable? You have to adapt to all the situation. So if you want to position yourself in sagehood, you have to go through this hardship. So I want to tell you a story about 3 seasoned people. This story happened in Confucius' time. So there was one gentleman. He just wants somebody to challenge, and he's very stubborn. So one day he come by Confucius' school, and then he saw one disciple of Confucius. So he asked the disciple, how many seasons are there in 1 year? The disciple said, this question is simple. I know what to answer. The answer is 4 seasons. So I have to show my knowledge. So this disciple of Confucius said, it's 4 seasons. This gentleman said, no, it's not. It's 3 seasons. One say 3, the other one say 4 seasons. So they are arguing. So this gentleman said, I'm sure it's 3 seasons. If I am wrong, then I'm going to bow to you. Bowing means putting your knee down and then on the ground with like 4 of your body part on the ground. But if you are wrong, you also have to bow to me too. So then while they have this discussion, Confucius walk out. So then they present the question to Confucius. And the disciple of Confucius, he was so exciting because he's looking for the teacher to back him up. So after Confucius hearing the argument, Confucius said, you are wrong. He pointed to his disciple, you are wrong. You should bow to that gentleman there. So the disciple, he doesn't know what's wrong because his teacher, Confucius, always tell him that there's 4 seasons. Why now all of a sudden he changed? But reluctantly, he have to take the order from the teacher. So he kneeled down, make 3 bows, and then that gentleman just left and walked away with a great smile. Now there's only Confucius and the disciple left. So the disciple say, why do you say that there's 3 seasons? It should be 4. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Confucius say, don't you see that the person, he's wearing green? He resembles grasshopper. Now grasshopper is only born in the spring, start to become adult in the summer, and it will die in autumn. So the grasshopper never witnessed winter. How can you tell the grasshopper there's winter? So in our life, we always encounter this kind of people. You tell them something, they just don't understand. Why spend hours arguing with them? In Zhuangzi, he has a teaching, never tell a frog how beautiful is the ocean, because frog never experience ocean, and frog will never be able to see the ocean. And also there's a little box here, or maybe fly. You will never tell the bugs on the fly about the winter, because all the bugs will die during the winter time. So why spend the time arguing with people and then make yourself blood boil and have a high blood pressure and It's just not worth it. So next time when you encounter somebody that you want to convince them and they cannot be convinced, perhaps they fall into this category. It's the 3 seasoned people. And I'm sure we all experience this kind of people in our life. The next one is bend and be straightened. 往折直. So 往 is bend, being crooked. So this means sometimes we are being wrongly accused or being treated unjustly, defamed, marked down, and there will be situations we have to bow down to other people. We all have this kind of situation, right, in life. And 直, this character here represent, literally it's straight, vertical, but it implies being recognized and receive acknowledgement. So sometimes we just have to position ourselves low in order to get recognized. This is like a cause and effect. If you want to be recognized, first you have to stay low. If you want to be acknowledged, you want to stay low. Sometimes life is just not fair. We have to experience this negative experience, sometimes being accused based on the law of yin and yang. The situation will be reversed eventually. So the path of cultivation is full of mistreatment, defame, and mock. So if one does not yield, and if you wish to reach Buddhahood or to reach perfection, it's not possible. If you don't want to bend and you wish to be straightened, it's not possible. In other words, if you want to have a successful business, in some point of time, you have to bow, you have to negotiate, you have to be flexible, be adaptable to your customer. So this is the experience we have to endure in our life. And I want to share with you a story of a Zen master. His name is Zen Master Haken Ikaku. He's an influential Zen master in Japan and a real person. So once upon a time, there was a village girl. So there was a girl who got pregnant in the village. She's not supposed to get pregnant, but she got pregnant. So she was ashamed. She doesn't know what to do. And her stomach just got bigger and bigger. Finally, she had to confront her parents. I got pregnant. So the parents, the first thing they say, who is the father? Who is the father? So the girl is reluctant to say. Finally, after days of confrontation, the girl said, it's Zen Master Haken. The parents were furious. They go to the temple to visit this Zen Master and they say all the bad word they can. And you are the father of this child. You have to take care of my daughter. You have to take care of the baby. So during this confrontation, all the disciples in the temple heard this. And you know what happened? This Zen master's reputation is tarnished. Everybody left. All the disciples left. 9 months later, the parents bring the baby to him to take care. Oh, by the way, when the parents confront him, he said, is that so? That's the most famous word. Is that so? So 9 months later, the baby was brought to him because he's the father of the child based on the statement from the girl. So the Zen master tried whatever he can to raise the child. Years gone by. Oh, by the way, he also managed to ask help from other people in the village. So he was able to obtain breast milk and other necessity for the baby. So years gone by. And this village girl, she feels so remorse and she feels she have to tell her parents. I'm sorry, mom and dad. The father is not him. It's someone else. It's a fisherman in the next village. So the parents say, what? How could this happen? So the parents rush to the temple and apologize to Zen Master I-Kuan, I'm sorry, my daughter made a mistake. It's not yours. I'm so sorry. I say all these bad things to you. But his reputation is down to the drain, right? All the disciple left. So what is his response? His response is that so? So this is a way of his cultivation. He's practicing love without any condition. So when the parents ask him, can you return a baby? Zen Master is very caring. He loved the baby too. He just returned a baby without any condition. So now he just need to manage to live by himself. So eventually the disciple came back because he was wrongly accused. So this tells us that equanimity and wisdom are something that we have to practice. It doesn't matter what kind of hardship we endure, but eventually everything will be clear up. So this is a great example. Like I told you, Jesus, he was wrongly accused, but his name is being forever remembered. So this story tells us that equanimity and wisdom in the midst of surprise and difficulty of our ordinary life, it's what we need to endure, but what kind of mentality we should have when this thing happens, and how can we prepare our equanimity? It's only when during regular time we maintain this state of cultivation. So this is like practicing Kung Fu. If you practice in your daily life, when this thing hits, it's not going to affect you. But if you never practice meditation or you never practice equanimity, when the turbulation comes, when the hardship comes, you will be destroyed. So cultivation, it's a practice that we have to do it on a daily basis. And here's the example of flexibility and adaptability. So this is a picture of a Charmanathus, Procox, and a picture of widows. So this is a tree that's up in north in Japan. In this tree, during the winter time, it can stay very strong and it will produce the flowers. And when the snow falls, the snow will fall on the flower. But when the wind blows, the flower will drop. So it's that fragile. The flower can die easily by a blow of wind. However, you see these willows, when the wind blows, the willow branch will just flow with the wind. This reminds us that we want to be in a willow tree, not this. The next verse is hollow and be full. So hollow is talking about a shallow place which can fill with water. So this is a great example. This pot of water can hold small amount of water, but on the other hand, ocean can hold enormous amount of water. But why would the ocean be able to hold so much water? Because ocean has more shallow space than this pot of water. Do we want to be an empty cup or a full cup? If we are full, then there's nothing more that can be pulled in. If we are empty, then we are more absorbent than whatever things that can pull upon us. So this character is hollow. It means hollow swamp or a shallow place that can hold some kind of a liquid. And this one is surplus, surplus of honor, surplus of dignity. So if you can position yourself in a low position, in a modest position, humble position, there will be a surplus of respect. People will respect you because you are humble. So this verse is hollow and be full, 蛙则盈. So why the ocean can collect so much water from the river? Because it's low and hollow position. In other words, low is the foundation of high, humble is the base of noble. Do we want to have a high position in our friend circle or in our family? If we want to be high, that means you have to stay low. If you want to be noble, that means you have to stay humble. If you don't want to stay low, that's impossible to be noble. if you want to be respected, if you want to be honored, if you want people to treat you well, you have to stay low. That's the key. This is the teaching that Lao Tzu wants to teach us in this chapter. So cultivation, it's about humbleness, learning frequent reflection. So we want to point finger to ourselves, not to other people, especially when situation come. We don't want to ABC, which is accuse, I have it here, accuse, blaming, and complain. It's so easy for us to point finger at other people, right? So when we point finger at others, one finger point to other, but then there's 3 point to us, as you can see from this picture here. Now, go to our topic for today, how to receive blessing. It's to prepare the environment to be blessed. So if you want to be blessed, what can we do? We have to prepare ourselves. We have to be humble and stay in a low position and willing to listen. And if we constantly practice love, forgiveness, if we are constantly humble and modest, Buddha will always be with you. Angel will be always around you. You don't need to pray for them to bless you because you already position yourself. You already create that environment for Buddha, for angel to give you blessing. Now, if a person is always arrogant, it's always gossiping, it's always angry, when the Buddha come close to them, they will not, they just run away. So sometimes when the situation comes, why this person have a higher pay than I do? Why I always have an accident? Why this person have a better family than I do? Is it because you are always comparing yourself with others? And when you accuse, blaming, and complain to the heavenly Lord, to God, God, why don't you protect me? The moment you think about that, you are not creating that environment for Buddha to bless you. So in order for Buddha to bless you, actually you don't need to ask. You just have to prepare yourself to have that suitable environment so that you can constantly resonate with all the divine being, heavenly angel, or Jesus. We have some Christian here. Sometimes we just have to prepare ourselves. And also the heavenly angel and the divine being, they are living in a higher frequency. If our energy is very low, if we constantly blaming other people, angry, or always in depression, how can they reach you? So imagine some people and they get angry and they choose to get angry for days. So it's like they are hiding in a dark space and they choose to hide in the dark place. They don't want to go out to receive the sunlight. But the sunlight is provided by the divine energy, by the spirit. So if you decide to stay in a dark place, how can you go out to receive the sunlight? You cannot. It's only you choose to step out, then you can receive the sunlight. Now the sunlight will not go to the dark place to chase after you. The sunlight will always be there, but it's only up to us whether we want to get it or not. We have a choice to walk out of the darkness or stay in the sunlight. It's our choice. Next one, preserve the old and be new. 必则新. So the old here refers to the old ethics, etiquette. Nowadays, a lot of kids are being taught knowledge. We all been to school. When we go to school, did the teacher teach us how to be a good person? Probably not. That's not how I went to school. The teacher gave me English, Chinese, geometry, algebra, history, and maybe some biology, chemistry. We all been there. But there's no class called moral value or ethics or virtue. Even nowadays, nobody teach about that. The school environment does not teach that. So who teach this kind of thing? It's up to the parents. But a lot of parents push the kids. You have to get an A, you have to get an A, you have to go to certain school to be successful. So nobody is teaching that, but Lao Tzu say, keeping the O is very important. The O thing means all this virtue. Filial piety, sibling harmony, dedication, trustworthiness, and the list goes on. And as you can see, filial piety is list number 1 because it starts from the family. It starts from the direct relationship between you and the parents. If you can respect your parents, of course, you will respect your sibling. Filial piety is the most important and the number 1 virtue that we can practice within the family. So this virtue is definitely necessary. And new, why does it mean by new? It means to renew, refresh, be able to last continuously. So how can the virtue last continuously? It means that you always have this energy that keep you going, and it's always refreshing. It's always new. It's always there. So in Tao teaching, what can last forever? It's Tao, right? The true self. So the true self will constantly be rejuvenated, will always be there. You always have that fresh Tao mind, and it will just keep you going and going and going. This character new, it means never go out of style. Will Tao ever go out of style? Will virtue ever go out of style? Will filial piety ever go out of style? It will not. And because that do not go out of style, therefore your spirit will last forever. Have less and be prosperous. So here, have less, it implies something that does not belong to you. So our true self is pure. Just imagine a piece of mirror. That piece of mirror is supposed to shine. But if you don't clean the mirror for one day, maybe nothing will happen. If you don't clean the mirror for 1 week, what's going to happen? My mirror will have some water spot. And then after 1 month, after 1 year, what's going to happen? So the dust and the water spot, the pollution are not supposed to be there. So Lao Tzu wants us to make it less, to keep it to the original condition, the original shape. So in terms of our cultivation, we want to minimize what is being attached in our life, like attachment, anger, desire, all this, lust, greed, selfishness. Sometimes we have discrimination on others. We have judgment. Try to get rid of those because it's not what we need. The flight to heaven, you cannot carry any luggage because the lighter weight, the better you will fly far. So in this life, when we take our last breath, we don't want to take anything with us. The less, the better. So what Lao Tzu wants us is to preserve what we already have. What do we already have? It's the true self. The true self comes with many beautiful things. Love, forgiveness, virtue, tolerance, integrity, compassion, kindness. This is what we're supposed to have. This is the genuine true self. But what does not belong to us? It's hate, desire, depression, and of course, all the material stuff. So in order to reduce what we don't need to have, sometimes we just have to close our mouth. We don't want to say the unnecessary things. We don't want to create the gossip. Our ears have to be dull. Do you have that experience? Sometimes you just hear people say many things. It's just too noisy. You wish your ear to be a little dull. And you wish that, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have sent that email. I shouldn't have looked at it. We all have that experience. So you see, if we put more stuff into our life, it's like trash piling up. When we collect so much garbage, then our true self will be buried. Imagine our true self, our Tao, our conscience are being buried by all this trash. What's going to happen to you? We are going to live in misery. That's why a lot of time when we pray to Buddha, when we pray to God, God does not answer because we are piled with a lot of debris, piled with a lot of trash. And that's why the signal does not connect. So how can you connect to God, the divine beings? It's to clean up our trash first, our mental trash, emotional trash, psychological trash. But I will say that the physical trash is also important too. In Chinese, we like to talk about feng shui because whatever is outside, it will affect us mentally. I like to clean up my room like once a week at least. Have much and be confused, 多则惑. So when we study this line, we want to study together with the previous one because they are opposite of each other. Have less and be prosperous, 少则得. And the next one is have much and be confused. So have much of what? This is what we don't want. In Buddhism, this is the three poison: greed, aversion, ignorance, and all these things that we don't want to have. So imagine our true self, our conscience is like the sun in the sky. And when you have too much clouds, how can sunlight go through? Can the sunlight go through if there's too much cloud in the sky? Cannot. What's the meaning of cultivation? Simply put, is to get rid of something that you don't need. It's not to obtain something because you already have the sun. You already have that conscience. You already have that mirror, but you want to remove the debris on top of it. You want to remove the clouds in front of the sun. Here I have another picture. We often talk about body, mind, and soul, or body, mind, and spirit. So spirit can be represented by Tao or conscious. And this is our body. So if our mind is full of all this, greed, selfishness, gossip, accuse, blaming, complaint, judgment, discrimination, tricks, and scam. Nowadays, there's a lot of scammer. And all day long, they are thinking about how to scam people, how to scam elders, and how to break in people's house. If our mind is filthy, full of junk, how can our body communicate with the spirit? It's only when we make sure the bridge is clear and clean, then it will allow constant flow of spirit to the body and from the body to the spirit. Lao Tzu earlier mentioned about 6 verse, therefore comes to this sentence here. Thus, the sage embraces oneness and is an example of the world. Therefore, with this, what is this? It's referring to ill is to be whole, ben hollow, preserve the old and have less. And here, keep in mind, every time when we read Tao Te Ching, when it says sage, it's referring to us. Lao Tzu is teaching us. So this is not about another teaching to other people. It's the Lao Tzu's teaching to Joanna, Lao Tzu's teaching to Andrew, or Lao Tzu's teaching to Dan. So it's referring to us because we are on this path, we are the future saints and sages. And the concept of one, here, the sage embraces oneness. So the oneness represents the completion, the perfection, the state of you reach spiritual perfection. It also means that returning to the origin, returning to the source. So when we are able to return to the origin, what does that mean? You reach Buddhahood. You reach perfection. And that's where we want to be. So our temple is called the I-Kuan Tao temple. If people ask you, what is I-Kuan Tao? Since we are talking about I right here, so I-Kuan Tao in Chinese is this character here. So I represent one. It's not two, because when we say two, it means duality. One is just one of a completion, one of perfection. And guan is a verb. It means to unify. And Tao, because Tao prevails all, so this one we can translate as one unify all. So imagine you are doing a barbecue and there's a vegetable, cucumber, or all sort of thing, and you have this piece of stick and you want to put all of them together. So imagine that as an analogy of barbecue, putting whatever items that you want to put it together. So that's the name of our temple. So our temple is Tao Temple, but its formal name is called I-Kuan Tao Temple. So if we can unify ourselves into oneness, this will be a good example to the world, since the ancient time to the modern time. This is a picture of oneness. Our body is the vessel of Tao. Our body is not a vessel of mind, because our mind sometimes it goes very wild. But we want to have our body to be in a vessel of Tao. And Tao here, it's a synonym of conscience and true self. So when we are embracing one, Tao become our master. On the other hand, when the Tao is separate, when it become more than one, our body become the vessel of mind. And that vessel of mind is full of greed, aversion, discrimination, hatefulness, and judgment. So here in this picture, body become the slave of mind, and body has no communication with our conscience. Our mind is the false self become the master. So the term of cultivation is to achieve from this state to this state. And this state is having your conscience, having your Tao, having your true self to become the master. Thus, the sage embraced oneness and is an example to the world. So let's continue on. He does not reveal himself and therefore is illuminated. He does not self-assert and therefore is distinguished. So from this point on, Lao Tzu changed his focus to talk about arrogance in a different perspective. So on the first line, it talks about revealing oneself. Revealing oneself is showing off. If I have a Ferrari and I go to your home and I honk and asking you to come out, look at my Ferrari, with my behavior without speech, that will be showing off. Or if we are in school and I got a report card, everything is A, and I just show it in front of you, and that's showing off. Lao Tzu tells us that if we don't do that, then we will be illuminated. Another way of arrogance is that to express that I'm always right and you are always wrong. So whatever you say is wrong, I'm always right. So that's another form of arrogance. So looking at this picture, we want to look like a cup is empty. We don't want to overfill ourselves, because if it's overfilled, we cannot take on anything. Next one, he does not take credit and therefore is honor. 不自伐，故有功. He does not boast and therefore is long lasting. So in the first line, it talks about taking credit. If we are in a company and we finish our project, we complete a project, and I say, this is all my credit. But Lao Tzu say that's not the way it works. We should not take any credit. We should give all the credit to other people. And if you want to be honored, if you want to stay in a high position, you want to be low. So taking credit is not being low, it's being high. So it's something to remind us. Next one, he does not boast and therefore is long lasting. 不自矜，不长. So in Chinese, the first character here and this one here, the difference is that one brags about the achievement, how much I have complete, and I actually completed. And this one also talking about completion, but maybe I exaggerated. Sometimes when we go look for jobs, sometimes we intend to overstate our resume. Say, for example, I have 3 years of car selling experience. I would say 5 years. If I have 5 years, I say 7 years. Or if I work in a restaurant, I've been in the waitress for 5 years. So if I say 10 years, it's okay. So this is like exaggeration. So here I list out the difference. So both is market yourself appropriately, but making that announcement. But brag, it's making it bigger. Instead of 5 years of sales experience, I say I have 15 years. So here's the etymology of Fa and Jing, because this one, it has very close meaning. I want to take the time to explain the etymology here. So Fa, as you can see, here's the weapon, and that weapon has some kind of a collar choking on this person. So this word is used during the war. Somebody is being captured. It's like capturing the enemy. It's some kind of achievement. And this one, it's achieving through verbal form. Next one, he does not compete, 夫为不争, and therefore no one in the world can contend with him. And because we don't take credit, we are not self-assertive, we don't boast and brag, we give all the credit to other people, then who will want to compete with us? So the key here is that we don't want to boast and brag ourselves. So what happens if somebody say, hey, you did a great job? Then what are we supposed to say? In a work environment, if somebody say, Joanna, you did a great job, I'm supposed to say, well, since this is teamwork, I give all the credit to this person, this person, and this person. I think the supervisor give us great ideas. I stay in this company so that this company allow me to have the opportunity to excel. But you don't point the finger to yourself. You give the credit to other people. And today I'm speaking here. I don't want to take the credit. I want to give the credit to you, because without your attendance, I will be talking to heirs. And I might just stay home and do my own study. So I give all the credit to you. And because of your attendance, you give me the opportunity to speak. And in the family situation, we want to give the credit to our spouse. We want to give the credit to our sibling. And with our parents, we want to give the credit to our parents who raised us up. So never accuse, blame, and complain to our parents. And especially in the work environment, we want to give the credit to the coworker and to our boss, especially to our boss. So can you see that when we do that, there's no enemy around us? When somebody does not reveal, does not self-assert, does not take credit, and does not boast, there's no reason for rivalry and conflict. Usually, the rivalry and conflict in a workplace or in a family is because one person stay in a high position and they want to take everything. Therefore, that's why there's so much rivalry and conflict. But in a family or in the work environment, if you give the credit to others, you create some kind of harmony in your life. The ancient saying of heal and behold, was it just an empty talk? 古之所谓曲则全者，岂虚言哉? A sincere cultivation to the force will return you to the source. 成全而归之. So here, the ancient saying of heal and behold, here it just mentioned about one verse, but actually Lao Tzu talk about 6 verses. Here I put first verse as well as 5 other verses in this chapter. So the ancient saying, it can translate as the ancient wisdom, because Lao Tzu does not really mention about who say it. Lao Tzu just give an adjective, the ancient wisdom, or the ancient teaching, the ancient realization, or the teaching from the ancient saints and sages. So if we can cultivate sincerely, diligently, of course we can return to the source. And what is the source? Yes, Tao. And where's Tao? Tao is where we come from. We come from there. Now we are just living in hotel. So we've been moving from hotel to hotel. And hopefully, eventually, when we take our last breath, we will be able to go home. And hotel is just a temporary place for us to stay. We've been through many past lifetime. And every time we just move between hotel and hotel. And hopefully we realize at this point, our body is just our temporary home. The place that we live on earth is just temporary. Eventually, we are going home, the permanent home. There's a lot of teaching on how to go home. The Heart Sutra talks about how to go home. The Diamond Sutra talks about how to go home. There's so many teaching on teaching us how to go home. On top of that, Tao Te Ching is just one of them. There's so many wisdom that ancient saints and sages give it to us. And I believe all of us are ready to receive that knowledge. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here studying Tao Te Ching together. So let's just hope that we are on this journey together and we will go home eventually. This is a picture of chameleon. So in order to go home, we need to be flexible. We need to be adaptable. This chameleon can change its color. And talking about changing the color means changing the temperature. So when the enemy comes, the chameleon can escape. So in terms of cultivation, we want to be adaptable. We want to yield. So imagine you are that flow of water. And then when you flow downstream, there's a branch, there's rocks right in front of you. What are you going to do? Go around it, right? So the best way is just to go around. Just like when we drive, if you see a yield sign, would you take a detour? Go here and here, here? Will you get angry? You will not. But imagine in our life, a lot of time you see the 3-season people. When we see that 3-season people, we get so angry. Why don't we just go around just like in the water? Move around, then our life will be much happier. And eventually we will be able to reach that completion of perfection, completion of oneness. Again, in this chapter, we can break it down into 3 segments. The first one is the teaching from Lao Tzu. How can we adapt in our life with so much things going on? Yield and be whole, bend and be straightened, hollow and be full, preserve the old and be new, have less and be prosperous, have much and be confused. And the next segment is about arrogance. I know this is a lot, but if you can just remember one of this in life, we are going to live much happier. So this one is the summary verse. In order for us to receive blessing, if we want to be blessed, if we want to have a prayer with the Heavenly Lord, what do we need to do? First of all, we have to stay in a low position, be humble and be modest. And I'm sure blessing will come to you without you asking, for sure. But you have to prepare yourself. You have to prepare your mind so that the divinity will be able to resonate with you. So Lao Tzu talk about humbleness, modesty in many chapters. Here I just list a few. Chapter 7, the sage places himself last. Here let me just go over with you the red text. Position himself extraneously. And chapter 8, being soft and weak. And this one, after the work is completed, the name is distinguished, one withdraw. So this one is that one does not take the credit. Chapter 10, does not claim, does not boast, does not dominate. So this is an expression of not being arrogant. I have concluded my chapter 22 session. Thank you so much. If mistake were made or said during today's sharing, I ask for forgiveness from the Heavenly Mother, Buddha Vichaya, Jigong Buddha Patriarch, Sisun Simu, Grandmaster, and Junior Master Lee and Senior Master Lee. Thank you so much.